Ladies and gentlemen, today we must confront a truth that many people avoid but desperately need to understand. God is not opposed to blessing you, and heaven is not silent concerning your future. The real issue is not God's willingness. It is human readiness. Many people pray for elevation, promotion, and influence, yet remain confused when nothing changes. They fast, they sow, they cry out to God, but doors remain closed. The question is not why God is slow, but why God is careful. God never promotes potential without first testing character, because promotion is not about position, it is about responsibility. When God lifts a person, He is not only elevating their success, He is entrusting them with authority, influence, and impact over others. And wherever character is weak, power becomes dangerous. That is why God would rather delay your promotion than destroy your destiny. History is filled with gifted people who rose quickly but fell suddenly, not because they lacked talent, but because they lacked discipline, integrity, and maturity. God is not impressed by charisma, intelligence, or ambition. Heaven responds to obedience, consistency, and moral strength. You can have vision without character, but vision without character will eventually collapse. Today's message will challenge how you think about success, prayer, and promotion. Because until your character can sustain the blessing, God will not release it. Not because He is cruel, but because He is wise. God has never been impressed by ability alone, because talent can open doors that character cannot keep open. Many people misunderstand promotion because they think it is a reward for skill, intelligence, or visibility. But in the economy of God, promotion is a trust, not a trophy. Talent may attract attention, but character determines longevity. God sees beyond performance and looks deeply into motives, discipline, and consistency. A person can be gifted and still be dangerous if their inner life is undeveloped, because what is not governed internally will eventually collapse externally. Character is who you are when no one is watching, when applause is absent, when pressure is heavy, and when compromise offers an easy escape. God evaluates these private moments far more than public success. Talent is loud, but character is quiet. Talent announces itself, but character reveals itself over time. This is why God allows seasons of obscurity, delay, and testing, because exposure without maturity can destroy a person faster than failure ever could. God is not slow, He is strategic, shaping the foundation before allowing the structure to rise. Many people pray for influence but resist discipline. They desire platforms but avoid process. Yet God never promotes what He has not first prepared. Talent can impress people, but character convinces heaven. Skill can be learned, sharpened, and multiplied, but character must be formed, tested, and proven. God knows that talent without character leads to pride, misuse of authority, and eventual self-destruction. Therefore, He often withholds promotion, not because a person is incapable, but because they are incomplete. History repeatedly shows that downfall rarely begins with incompetence. It begins with compromised character. When integrity is weak, success becomes a burden instead of a blessing. God understands that authority magnifies whatever is already inside a person. If humility is present, authority produces service. If insecurity is present, authority produces control. If greed is present, authority produces corruption. This is why God is cautious with promotion, because elevation does not change character, it exposes it. Talent operates in the realm of skill, but character operates in the realm of trust. God promotes based on trustworthiness, not excitement. A person may be talented enough to lead, but not mature enough to handle criticism, pressure, or opposition. Promotion places weight on a life, and only character can carry that weight without collapsing. When character is weak, success becomes a strain rather than a strength. God is more interested in who you are becoming than what you are achieving. Achievement without alignment creates conflict between public image and private reality. Refuses to promote people whose private life cannot support their public calling. This is why some people remain stagnant despite their obvious abilities, because God is dealing with attitudes, habits, and mindsets that talent cannot fix. Skill may win opportunities, but character sustains purpose. Character is developed through obedience in small things, faithfulness in unseen places, and consistency under pressure. God watches how a person handles little authority before granting greater authority. He observes how they treat people who cannot benefit them, how they respond to correction, and how they manage responsibility when recognition is absent. These moments are divine examinations, not delays. Promotion in God's system is always preceded by preparation in hidden seasons. Talent can function without submission, but character cannot. God values submission because it reveals humility, and humility is essential for leadership. Pride disqualifies faster than weakness ever could. God resists the proud not because they are gifted, but because pride makes correction impossible. A person who cannot be corrected cannot be trusted with influence. Therefore, God often breaks arrogance before releasing authority, because unbroken pride will eventually abuse power. Character also determines how a person handles failure. Talent-focused individuals rely on ability, but character-focused individuals rely on principles. When talent fails, character stands. When skill is insufficient, integrity sustains. God wants leaders who are anchored in values, not intoxicated by applause. Promotion that is driven by talent alone creates performers, not stewards. God is raising stewards, people who understand that everything entrusted to them is to be managed, not owned. In the end, talent answers the question of what you can do, but character answers the question of whether you should be trusted to do it. God's promotions are intentional, purposeful, and protective. He is not trying to slow people down. He is trying to keep them alive, effective, and impactful. Until character can sustain the calling, promotion remains dangerous, because what lifts you before it forms you will eventually break you under the weight of expectation, pressure, responsibility, and influence that comes with elevation. Authority is never neutral because it amplifies whatever already exists within a person. When character is weak, authority does not improve a life, it exposes it. Power does not create problems, it reveals them. Influence does not change nature, it magnifies nature. This is why authority placed on weak character becomes dangerous, not only to the individual who holds it, but to everyone connected to them. God understands that leadership without character becomes a liability rather than a blessing. Weak character lacks internal governance, and authority without self-control always seeks external control. When a person cannot manage their own emotions, desires, and impulses, authority becomes a tool for domination instead of service. In such hands, leadership shifts from responsibility to entitlement. Decisions are no longer guided by principles, but by ego, insecurity, and personal gain. God refuses to empower what he cannot trust, because authority multiplies damage when character is undeveloped. Authority places pressure on the inner life, and pressure always exposes fractures. A person with weak character may appear humble when they have no power, but authority reveals whether humility was genuine or situational. Without character, authority feeds pride. It creates a false sense of superiority, distance from accountability, and resistance to correction. God knows that pride in leadership is destructive because it makes learning impossible and repentance rare. When character is weak, authority becomes a burden rather than a responsibility. Leaders begin to protect their position instead of their people. Truth becomes negotiable, integrity becomes optional, and values are sacrificed to maintain control. God never intended authority to be a shield for insecurity, yet weak character uses power to hide flaws instead of addressing them. This is why many leaders collapse under the weight of influence they were never prepared to carry. Weak character also mishandles access. Authority grants access to resources, people, and opportunities that require restraint and wisdom. Without character, access turns into abuse. Boundaries are crossed, trust is violated, and responsibility is treated casually. God understands that access without discipline leads to corruption. What was meant to serve many becomes a tool to satisfy one. Authority was designed to protect purpose, but weak character turns it into a threat against purpose. Authority demands accountability, but weak character resists it. Correction feels like an attack, feedback feels like disrespect, and opposition feels like rebellion. God knows that a person who cannot be corrected cannot be trusted with influence. Leadership requires teachability, and teachability is a product of character, not position. When authority is given to someone who despises accountability, leadership becomes unsafe. Weak character also distorts judgment. Decisions are no longer made based on truth or wisdom, but on emotions, favoritism, and fear. Authority should bring clarity, but weak character brings confusion. It creates instability because decisions shift with moods instead of principles. God values consistency because people depend on it. Inconsistent leadership produces insecurity, and insecurity spreads dysfunction throughout families, organizations, and communities. Authority also magnifies private habits. What a person tolerates in secret will eventually surface in public when authority removes restraints. Weak character hides behind position until pressure exposes reality. God sees what people manage to conceal from others, and He knows that elevation will eventually reveal what was hidden. This is why God often withholds authority, not as punishment, but as protection from exposure that could destroy a person's credibility and future. When character is weak, authority becomes exhausting. Leaders begin to struggle with stress, paranoia, and burnout because they are maintaining an image rather than living in truth. Authority requires alignment between private life and public responsibility. Weak character creates conflict between who a person is and who they pretend to be. God never designed leadership to be sustained by performance. He designed it to be sustained by integrity. Weak character also damages legacy. Authority gives a person the ability to influence future generations, but without character, influence becomes toxic. People may comply temporarily, but they will never be inspired. Fear replaces respect, and compliance replaces loyalty. God is not interested in temporary control. He is invested in lasting impact. Authority that lacks character may achieve results, but it destroys people in the process. God understands that authority must rest on a strong moral foundation. Character is the framework that holds power together. Without it, authority collapses under its own weight. This is why God focuses more on internal formation than external elevation. He knows that when authority outpaces character, downfall becomes inevitable, because power without character does not serve purpose, it sabotages it. Promotion in the kingdom of God is misunderstood because many people associate it with privilege, visibility, and reward, while God associates it with responsibility, weight, and accountability. Before God ever elevates a person's position, He increases the demands on their life. Promotion is not first about what you gain, it is about what you must carry. God knows that elevation expands influence, and influence always requires greater responsibility. This is why God addresses responsibility long before He addresses privilege. Responsibility is the ability to respond correctly to what is entrusted to you. When God promotes someone, He entrusts them with people, resources, time, truth, and authority. Each level of promotion requires a higher level of response. Many people want the benefits of promotion without accepting the burden that comes with it. They desire recognition but resist accountability. They want authority but avoid obligation. God never separates promotion from responsibility because position without responsibility leads to misuse. Privilege attracts attention, but responsibility demands maturity. God understands that public visibility without private discipline creates imbalance. Before God allows a person to be seen, He teaches them how to be faithful when unseen. Before He enlarges their platform, He enlarges their capacity to serve. Responsibility develops endurance, humility, and wisdom. Without these qualities, privilege becomes intoxicating and dangerous. God often tests responsibility in small assignments before granting greater ones. How a person handles limited authority reveals how they will manage greater authority. If someone is careless with small responsibilities, promotion will only magnify their carelessness. God watches how people manage time, how they treat others, how they steward opportunities, and how they respond to pressure. These are not random experiences, they are preparation grounds. Responsibility is proven, not claimed. Many people mistake promotion as an escape from responsibility, when in reality it is an increase of it. Higher levels bring heavier decisions, greater scrutiny, and deeper consequences. God knows that leadership requires the strength to carry weight without becoming bitter, arrogant, or detached. Promotion exposes weaknesses in endurance and patience. This is why God trains people to carry weight before He increases their reach. Responsibility also requires consistency. Privilege can be enjoyed occasionally, but responsibility must be carried daily. God looks for people who are dependable, not just impressive. Dependability is a character issue, not a talent issue. God does not promote potential alone. He promotes proven faithfulness. Faithfulness demonstrates that a person can be trusted when emotions fluctuate and circumstances change. Responsibility demands sacrifice. Promotion often requires giving up comfort, convenience, and personal preference. God knows that leadership costs something. It costs time, energy, and sometimes personal desires. People who avoid sacrifice are not ready for promotion because responsibility always places the needs of others above self-interest. God prepares leaders by teaching them how to serve without being seen and give without immediate return. Responsibility also brings accountability. The higher the promotion, the greater the accountability. God holds leaders to stricter standards because their decisions affect more lives. Many people pray for elevation but resist correction. They desire freedom without structure. Yet responsibility thrives within boundaries. God establishes boundaries not to restrict people, but to protect them from the damage of unrestrained power. Privilege can inflate ego, but responsibility humbles the heart. God values humility because humility keeps a leader teachable. Promotion without humility creates isolation. Responsibility keeps a person grounded because it constantly reminds them that their role exists for others, not themselves. God is not looking for celebrities. He is looking for servants who can lead. Responsibility shapes perspective. It teaches people to think beyond themselves. Leaders with responsibility learn to consider long-term consequences rather than short-term gain. God prepares people to think generationally, not emotionally. Promotion demands wisdom, and wisdom comes from understanding the weight of decisions. God will not place heavy decisions in the hands of someone who thinks lightly. Responsibility also reveals motive. Some people want promotion for validation, recognition, or control. Responsibility exposes these motives because leadership quickly becomes uncomfortable for those driven by ego. God allows responsibility to refine intention. When motives are pure, responsibility strengthens purpose. When motives are selfish, responsibility becomes unbearable. God's order is intentional. He increases responsibility before privilege so that when privilege comes, it does not corrupt. He develops the inner life before expanding the outer life. Promotion is not about status, it is about service. Responsibility is the training ground where character, discipline, and wisdom are formed. Those who embrace responsibility are prepared for promotion because they understand that leadership is stewardship. Everything entrusted to them belongs to God and must be managed with care. Promotion in God's system is not an elevation above people, but a deeper obligation to serve them. Where responsibility is embraced, privilege becomes safe, sustainable, and purposeful. Delays in life often create frustration because people interpret them as rejection or failure, but in God's system, delay is frequently an expression of protection. God sees consequences that people cannot see, outcomes that are hidden behind decisions, and dangers that are concealed within opportunities. What feels like postponement is often preservation. God is not withholding promotion to hurt a person. He is withholding it to keep them whole. Elevation at the wrong time can destroy what was meant to bless. Many people ask God for speed, but God is concerned with safety. Quick promotion without preparation exposes a person to pressures they are not equipped to handle. God understands that timing is just as important as calling. A door opened too early can lead to loss instead of growth. Delay allows God to strengthen areas that would collapse under pressure. What people see as stagnation, God sees as reinforcement. Protection is necessary because promotion attracts attention, opposition, and responsibility. God knows how much exposure a person can handle without losing themselves. Delays often shield people from battles they are not yet strong enough to fight. Without emotional maturity and spiritual depth, success becomes overwhelming. God would rather slow the process than watch a person self-destruct under the weight of influence. Delay also protects motive. When promotion comes too quickly, pride can take root before humility is established. God uses waiting seasons to purify intention, teaching people to serve without recognition and remain faithful without reward. These seasons reveal whether a person is committed to purpose or addicted to applause. Protection sometimes looks like obscurity because obscurity keeps the heart clean. God uses delay to expose weaknesses that must be addressed: impatience, insecurity, anger, and entitlement. Men often surface when progress feels slow. These traits are dangerous in leadership. Delay becomes a mirror that reveals what needs healing and correction. God does not delay to frustrate, but to illuminate areas that could sabotage destiny if left untouched. Protection also involves emotional stability. Promotion intensifies pressure, criticism, and expectations. God prepares people to withstand misunderstanding without becoming bitter and opposition without becoming defensive. Delays build resilience. They teach people how to endure without quitting and how to remain grounded without recognition. Emotional strength cannot be rushed because it is formed through endurance. Delay guards relationships. Elevation changes dynamics with friends, family, and peers. Without maturity, promotion can damage relationships through pride or neglect. God uses waiting seasons to teach people how to love, listen, and value others beyond position. Protection ensures that when promotion comes, relationships are strengthened rather than sacrificed. God also protects integrity through delay. Temptations increase with opportunity. Access to resources, influence, and authority tests moral boundaries. Delay allows principles to become deeply rooted so they are not compromised under pressure. Integrity must be practiced long before it is tested publicly. God is careful because once integrity is damaged, restoration is costly. Protection includes mental readiness. Promotion requires decision, me, king that affects many lives. God sharpens discernment through seasons of waiting. Delays teach people how to think wisely, listen carefully, and act patiently. Mental maturity develops when a person learns to pause instead of react. God will not entrust heavy decisions to someone who thinks lightly. Delay also develops gratitude. When people wait, they learn to appreciate progress instead of demanding instant results. Gratitude keeps the heart humble when promotion arrives. God knows that ungrateful leaders become entitled leaders. Protection ensures that appreciation precedes elevation. God's delays are intentional. He is aligning circumstances, people, and timing. What seems slow is often precise. God is arranging favor that will not crush a person, opportunities that will not compromise them, and influence that will not destroy their peace. Protection works quietly and patiently. Delay strengthens trust in God rather than dependence on outcomes. When progress is slow, people learn to rely on God's guidance instead of their own ambition. This trust becomes essential in leadership. God desires leaders who listen before acting and seek wisdom before making decisions. Protection through delay is an act of love. God values the person more than the position. He is not impressed by speed. He is committed to sustainability. Elevation without preparation produces casualties. God delays promotion, so destiny is not damaged by haste, pressure, or unprepared exposure, ensuring that when the time comes, the person is ready to stand, lead, and remain intact under the weight of influence and responsibility. Discipline and integrity are not optional qualities in the journey toward lasting success. They are foundational requirements. Success that is not built on discipline may appear impressive for a moment, but it lacks the structure needed to endure. God is not interested in temporary achievements that collapse under pressure. He desires stability, consistency, and longevity. Discipline forms the framework that supports growth, while integrity preserves the purity of that growth. Discipline is the ability to govern oneself even when no one is enforcing rules. It is choosing what is right over what is easy. Many people want success but resist routine, structure, and self-control. Without discipline, talent becomes inconsistent and potential remains unfulfilled. God values discipline because it demonstrates mastery over impulses, emotions, and desires. A person who cannot manage themselves cannot be trusted to manage influence. Integrity is the alignment between belief and behavior. It is living the same in private as in public. God weighs integrity heavily because it reflects authenticity. When integrity is absent, success becomes a performance rather than a reflection of true character. Integrity ensures that actions are guided by truth rather than convenience. God will not sustain success that requires compromise to maintain. Discipline creates boundary, rise that protect purpose. It teaches people to say no to distractions so they can say yes to calling. Many people lose momentum not because they lack opportunity, but because they lack focus. Discipline trains the mind to remain committed even when motivation fades. God honors discipline because it reveals commitment to growth and responsibility. Integrity protects trust. Success without trust is hollow because influence is built on credibility. When people cannot trust a leader's word, their authority weakens. God knows that trust is fragile and easily broken. Integrity guards reputation by ensuring consistency between promises and actions. Without integrity, success damages credibility instead of enhancing it. Discipline also shapes habits. Daily habits determine long-term outcomes. God understands that character is formed in repetition, not in moments of inspiration. Discipline transforms values into practices. It ensures that excellence is not accidental, but intentional. Lasting success requires habits that support growth rather than sabotage it. Integrity determines how a person handles temptation. Opportunities often come with ethical challenges. God prepares people to face these challenges by strengthening integrity long before success arrives. A person who compromises in small matters will collapse in larger ones. Integrity must be non-negotiable because success multiplies opportunities to compromise. Discipline produces endurance. Success is not sustained by excitement, but by perseverance. There will be seasons when results are slow and recognition is absent. Discipline keeps a person moving forward during these times. God values endurance because it reveals faithfulness. Those who endure without quitting demonstrate readiness for greater responsibility. Integrity also influences decision-making. Decisions rooted in integrity consider long-term impact rather than short-term gain. God entrusts greater influence to those who think beyond immediate benefit. Integrity ensures that success benefits others rather than harming them. God desires leaders whose success becomes a blessing rather than a burden. Discipline teaches stewardship. Success brings resources, time, and opportunities that require management. Discipline ensures that these resources are used wisely rather than wasted. God promotes those who demonstrate stewardship in small things. Discipline proves that a person understands responsibility. Integrity strengthens inner peace. Success achieved through compromise creates inner conflict. God wants people to enjoy success without guilt or fear. Integrity allows success to be carried with confidence and clarity. A clear conscience becomes a foundation for stability. Discipline also guards against pride. Routine reminds people that growth requires effort. It prevents entitlement by reinforcing humility. God resists pride because it undermines learning and accountability. Discipline keeps a person grounded regardless of success level. Integrity shapes legacy. Success is temporary, but legacy lasts. God is concerned with the impact a person leaves behind. Integrity ensures that influence continues beyond position. People remember character long after achievements fade. Discipline and integrity work together to create sustainability. Discipline builds strength. Integrity preserves direction. Without them, success becomes unstable. God requires these qualities because they protect both the individual and those influenced by them. Lasting success is not about reaching the top quickly, but about remaining effective, trustworthy, and aligned with purpose over time under the increasing weight of responsibility, influence, and expectation. Here, ISKI Note No. 5 expanded to approximately 800 words. Strictly following your instructions. No headings, no ending sentences, no expansion title, continuous flow. Discipline and integrity are not optional qualities in the journey toward lasting success. They are foundational requirements. Success that is not built on discipline may appear impressive for a moment, but it lacks the structure needed to endure. God is not interested in temporary achievements that collapse under pressure. He desires stability, consistency, and longevity. Discipline forms the framework that supports growth, while integrity preserves the purity of that growth. Discipline is the ability to govern oneself even when no one is enforcing rules. It is choosing what is right over what is easy. Many people want success but resist routine, structure, and self-control. Without discipline, talent becomes inconsistent and potential remains unfulfilled. God values discipline because it demonstrates mastery over impulses, emotions, and desires. A person who cannot manage themselves cannot be trusted to manage influence. Integrity is the alignment between belief and behavior. It is living the same in private as in public. God weighs integrity heavily because it reflects authenticity. When integrity is absent, success becomes a performance rather than a reflection of true character. Integrity ensures that actions are guided by truth rather than convenience. God will not sustain success that requires compromise to maintain. Discipline creates boundaries that protect purpose. It teaches people to say no to distractions so they can say yes to calling. Many people lose momentum not because they lack opportunity, but because they lack focus. Discipline trains the mind to remain committed even when motivation fades. God honors discipline because it reveals commitment to growth and responsibility. Integrity protects trust. Success without trust is hollow because influence is built on credibility. When people cannot trust a leader's word, their authority weakens. God knows that trust is fragile and easily broken. Integrity guards reputation by ensuring consistency between promises and actions. Without integrity, success damages credibility instead of enhancing it. Discipline so shapes habits. Daily habits determine long-term outcomes. God understands that character is formed in repetition, not in moments of inspiration. Discipline transforms values into practices. It ensures that excellence is not accidental but intentional. Lasting success requires habits that support growth rather than sabotage it. Integrity determines how a person handles temptation. Opportunities often come with ethical challenges. God prepares people to face these challenges by strengthening integrity long before success arrives. A person who compromises in small matters will collapse in larger ones. Integrity must be non-negotiable because success multiplies opportunities to compromise. Discipline produces endurance. Success is not sustained by excitement, but by perseverance. There will be seasons when results are slow and recognition is absent. Discipline keeps a person moving forward during these times. God values endurance because it reveals faithfulness. Those who endure without quitting demonstrate readiness for greater responsibility. Integrity also influences decision-making. Decisions rooted in integrity consider long-term impact rather than short-term gain. God entrusts greater influence to those who think beyond immediate benefit. Integrity ensures that success benefits others rather than harming them. God desires leaders whose success becomes a blessing rather than a burden. Discipline teaches stewardship. Success brings resources, time, and opportunities. The T require management. Discipline ensures that these resources are used wisely rather than wasted. God promotes those who demonstrate stewardship in small things. Discipline proves that a person understands responsibility. Integrity strengthens inner peace. Success achieved through compromise creates inner conflict. God wants people to enjoy success without guilt or fear. Integrity allows success to be carried with confidence and clarity. A clear conscience becomes a foundation for stability. Discipline also guards against pride. Routine reminds people that growth requires effort. It prevents entitlement by reinforcing humility. God resists pride because it undermines learning and accountability. Discipline keeps a person grounded regardless of success level. Integrity shapes legacy. Success is temporary, but legacy lasts. God is concerned with the impact a person leaves behind. Integrity ensures that influence continues beyond position. People remember character long after achievements fade. Discipline and integrity work together to create sustainability. Discipline builds strength. Integrity preserves direction. Without them, success becomes unstable. God requires these qualities because they protect both the individual and those influenced by them. Lasting success is not about reaching the top quickly, but about remaining effective, trustworthy, and aligned with purpose over time under the increasing weight of responsibility, influence, and expectation. Destiny is not far agile, but it is conditional. It is strong enough to endure opposition, delay, and pressure, yet it cannot survive neglect, immaturity, or undeveloped character. God designs destiny with purpose, but He entrusts it to people who must grow into it. Character is the container that carries destiny, and when that container is weak, destiny leaks, fractures, and eventually collapses. God will never pour a great destiny into a life that lacks the strength to sustain it. Many people assume destiny is automatic, that once God speaks a promise, its fulfillment is guaranteed regardless of personal growth. This misunderstanding causes people to ignore character development while focusing only on outcomes. Destiny is not destroyed by enemies as often as it is sabotaged by immaturity. God does not cancel destiny lightly, but He will pause, redirect, or restrain it when character is not aligned with the responsibility destiny demands. Character determines how a person handles the process that leads to destiny. The journey shapes the individual before the destination is reached. God uses process to expose pride, impatience, fear, and insecurity. These traits may seem harmless early on, but they become destructive at higher levels of influence. Destiny amplifies impact, and weak character cannot manage amplified impact without causing harm. Undeveloped character struggles with consistency. Destiny requires endurance over time, not short bursts of enthusiasm. Many people start well but fail to finish because character was never strengthened to withstand disappointment, delay, or resistance. God values finishing well more than starting fast. A destiny that begins prematurely often ends painfully because the person lacks the stability to sustain long-term responsibility. Character also determines how a person handles success. Destiny often involves visibility, recognition, and authority. Without character, success becomes intoxicating. Pride replaces gratitude, entitlement replaces humility, and control replaces service. God understands that success reveals the true condition of the heart. If character is undeveloped, destiny becomes a trap rather than a fulfillment. Undeveloped character mishandles relationships, and destiny is always connected to people. No destiny is fulfilled in isolation. Weak character creates conflict, division, and mistrust. God will not advance a destiny that destroys relationships because purpose is meant to build, not damage. Character teaches patience, empathy, and respect, which are essential for sustaining destiny. Character also governs decision-making. Destiny involves choices that affect many lives. Without wisdom and discernment, decisions driven by emotion or ego can derail years of preparation. God trains character to slow a person down, teaching them to think before acting. Impulsive decisions may feel powerful in the moment, but they carry long-term consequences that undeveloped character cannot foresee. Undeveloped character resists correction. Destiny requires continual learning and adjustment. A person who cannot receive correction cannot grow. God opposes pride because pride makes growth impossible. When correction is rejected, errors multiply. God will not advance a destiny in a life that refuses instruction, because destiny requires humility to remain aligned with purpose. Character determines how a person responds to pressure. Destiny attracts resistance, criticism, and opposition. Weak character reacts defensively, emotionally, or destructively. God strengthens character so a person can respond with wisdom rather than reaction. Pressure does not destroy destiny, it reveals readiness. Without developed character, pressure becomes overwhelming and destabilizing. Character also affects stewardship. Destiny comes with resources, opportunities, and influence that must be managed wisely. Undeveloped character wastes resources, abuses access, and misuses authority. God promotes stewards, not consumers. Destiny entrusted to an irresponsible life becomes compromised through neglect and misuse. Undeveloped character creates inconsistency between private life and public calling. Destiny demands alignment. When private habits contradict public responsibility, integrity erodes. God sees what people hide and knows that exposure will eventually come. Destiny cannot survive long-term contradiction between who a person is and what they are called to do. Character shapes legacy. Destiny is not only about personal fulfillment, but generational impact. Weak character may achieve moments of success but leaves behind damage. God desires destiny to bless future generations, not burden them. Character ensures that influence continues beyond a single lifetime. Destiny requires patience. Timing matters. God delays destiny to allow character to mature because premature fulfillment creates collapse. Waiting seasons are not wasted seasons, they are strengthening seasons. God develops depth before granting reach. Character is the foundation destiny stands on. Without it, destiny becomes unstable, unsafe, and unsustainable. God protects destiny by insisting on character development first. Destiny is too valuable to be entrusted to a life that has not been prepared to carry it under pressure, responsibility, influence, and the long-term demands of purpose.